All right. What's up, everyone? This is the one and only Mr. Goldenbaum with the Ought to Be Armed podcast. Today, I'm joined with our host, Billy Sack. Say hi, Billy. Billy? Did we lose you?
Who Hex had wanted to go play, and he's not
Anyway,
the host. He's not the
we
host.
also have a special guest today. Say hi, Jacob.
What's it going? I mean, fuck. Sorry, I
No,
messed
you're
up.
good. No, don't worry. We're keeping that.
Okay,
You're good.
sorry.
You're good.
Hey, what's up? So,
Edward couldn't make it to this episode, but he'll be here for the next one. And without any further ado, Ballistic, let's begin. What do you got for us?
So, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, I have another gaming channel, and it's called Ballistic. So if you ever hear that, that's who it is.
All right, Billy.
Alrighty. So let's put you in the spotlight, Lucas, and let's talk about Ukraine.
Wait, what? Me? Oh, Ukraine? What about it? What do you want to
Let's talk
know?
about the invasion.
It's a big story. You gotta find a specific point in time or something.
What were you talking about the other day? You were explaining some stuff to me.
I don't know. I wasn't talking to you the other day. I was gone.
Not yesterday, the other day. Random point in time. We talked about it.
What do you want to know about it?
Just I don't know, the general sense, whatever you know.
What's happening right now?
Yeah.
Exactly right now?
Go for it.
Well, as a lot of people know, Russia right now is in the Crimean. Do you know where the Crimean is, Ballistic? If I give you a map?
Maybe. Yeah, sure. Let's go with it.
Do you know where Ukraine is?
Yeah.
All right, so on the south part of Ukraine, there's the Crimean Peninsula. It's almost like an island, but there's like a little land strip. That has been invaded by Russia, and
wait,
originally
peninsula, you say? Is it on the Crimea River? Sorry, bad pun. Continue.
You mean the one that runs through the Crimean Mountains? So Russia has gone in there with the pretext of stabilizing the region, because technically they do lease, I believe it's called the Sevastopol base, and like the region around it, where they are able to station their navy. They are able to station, I think, an upward to a max of like 20,000 men. We would have to double check that. And they've gone in there with the pretext of stabilizing the region, because there's a lot of ethnic Russians that are there, because during Soviet times, all the ethnic Tatars, which the Crimean Tatars, that's where they lived, were deported to Siberia. So they got rid of all of the ethnic population. They replaced it with ethnic Russians. So now they invaded that area to stabilize the region. I've said that like 4 times. And in addition to that, now they've hosted a quote-unquote like referendum, which the rest of them does not want to recognize, because it's like an illegal referendum that doesn't mean anything, and there's been no independent, third party, outside review. You know how a lot of times for a lot of voting things, like there's people there to check that, make sure everything's going on, the way it's supposed to be. Maybe third party or independent isn't the correct word. It's not coming to mind. But basically, they have annexed the entire region of Crimea, and there have even been talks by some politicians within Russia, within the Duma, of close advisors to Putin, that they actually want to split up the rest of Ukraine with not only Russia itself, but also with Hungary, Poland, Romania, and I believe it's those main 3 that they want to split up Ukraine itself. There's been a lot of troop buildup on Ukraine's eastern border. There's been activity in Belarus, and in turn, Lithuania and Poland have also called up a lot of their EU power to basically deal with this crisis, this problem, whatever you want to call it. The U.S. has sent fighter planes over to both Poland and the Baltic states. They've conducted additional military exercises with Romania. The U.S. sent special like spy planes. I don't know, some Boeing planes that like scan shit or whatever. Not too familiar with those. And Poland has even requested like an additional 10,000 troops from the EU, I believe, because basically it's fearing for its existence. I mean, historically, there has been a problem, and Russia has historically just invaded everything.
So everybody picks on Poland.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of historical justification for Poland to. I don't know if it's not rely on the Western powers, because obviously that, it has to rely on itself right now. So there's been a lot of activities by a lot of Eastern nations because they have to rely on themselves, because they're not going to listen to any kind of, or because they're not really going to get support from Western Europe, because history has shown that it doesn't exist. There's another thing I wanted to follow up with that. So kind of a reason, maybe not a reason, but like how this has kind of happened is Ukraine. When the Soviet collapse happened and Ukraine became independent, they had a nuclear arsenal left over from Soviet times, and they voluntarily disarmed it, got rid of it, and all that stuff in exchange for guarantees from Russia, the UK, and America, I believe. And now that guarantee from America about Ukraine's territorial integrity and independence is kind of floating. Like, they kind of let Ukraine go and stuff has escalated, but nothing's really happened. Russia's kind of doing whatever it wants. Kind of, I don't know, it completely ignored Obama. So is that what you wanted to know, Ballistic, about what's going on?
Sure. Pretty intense.
I just needed a good...
I also had a question. Have you heard anything about Russian ships moving in the Black Sea? Because I've heard about, there's been a lot of naval movement by the Russians.
Have been Ukrainian vessels that have been docked in the Crimea that have been seized, I believe, by Russian forces. And American vessels, like I said earlier, they conducted military exercises with the Bulgarian and the Romanian navies, I believe. But any kind of country that's not, let's say, native to the Black Sea isn't really allowed to station any kind of warships or things like that there for an extended period of time. So that's limited. If Russia's doing more stuff, that's crazy. What have you heard about that?
What I've heard is there is a lot of military activity, naval activity in the Black Sea, and some of it looks like it has hostile intentions, and from different countries too, most of which that I've heard being Russia. I'd have to fact check that, but that's what I've heard recently.
If people that don't know, the sea around the Crimean is called the Black Sea. For Ballistic, just so he's on board with us.
I'm not that dumb, don't worry.
You didn't know what Crimea was.
Yeah, because I'm not European. You're Polish, so you should know. You should know this stuff.
So, a few other major players that might become major players in the situation. You also have to include Turkey as well, because they're very sympathetic to the Crimean Tatars right there.
Dude, I could go for some turkey right now.
Yeah, that kind of turkey.
Yeah.
Ballistic, do you know where Turkey is?
Yes.
All right. Do you know what its capital is?
Istanbul?
Yeah. Do you know what Istanbul used to be called?
Constantinople.
Constantinople, Byzantium, yeah.
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So what do you think, Ballistic? You think we're going to have another world war? You think stuff will de-escalate? Do you think Russia will finally stop its quote-unquote advance into Europe? I mean, because right now it's using its position to obtain all these strategic regions, and what's been argued is that Russia feels threatened through all these previous Soviet bloc countries, satellite states, like let's say Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, the Baltic states, just to name a few, that they've all been integrated into NATO, the EU, and now Russia feels threatened that Ukraine, due to its political change and how a pro-Western government now exists, opposed to a pro-Russian. That now it fears for its strategic interests, which is one of the reasons they went into the Crimean. And shit, now I forgot where I was going with this. Yeah, so just because Russia feels threatened doesn't mean that they can use that as a pretext to get rid of like their threats. I mean, all those countries that border Russia feel threatened about Russia. They can't really do anything. There's no reason for them to continuously deal with Russia and not be able to do anything about it because Russia feels threatened now. So now those countries can't join NATO. They can't join the EU because, you know, it's not in Russian interest. Like, who cares about Russia? These countries are threatened themselves.
Now, quick opinion. Yes. Isn't this similar to what happened, you know, early 1940s? You know, Germany said, "Oh no, we're gonna help you get stabilized. You know, we're just gonna give you a hand here."
I mean,
and you know, see where that ended up.
I mean, going into Crimea because, you know, those were Russians, ethnic Russians, similar to Germany going into Austria, taking over the Sudetenland, and then taking over the rest of the Czechoslovakia. Yeah, there are
Czechoslovakia, Warsaw, Poland, you know, that kind of stuff.
History will show you that appeasement isn't the answer.
Yeah, I'm kind of seeing a pattern here.
Yeah, and it's some countries that are kind of refusing to believe it. Let's say the Western countries, let's say like France and the UK, because, you know, they don't want to be involved, which, I mean, sometimes you can't but not be involved. I mean, as much as they wanted to avoid World War II, I mean...
Looking at it now.
Yeah.
And, you know, we have to take into account here that, you know, if this does go, you know, full scale... And,
if it goes full scale and
stuff gets started, we're looking at, you know, Russia is allies with, you know, China, North Korea, Cuba, you know, all these communist countries that, you know, have some firepower behind them.
China's not going to do anything to us personally.
Conventional war, it's not going to mean anything. It's going to quickly escalate to a nuclear war if these countries actually feel threatened and shit hits the fan. It's not going to be a conventional war between these powers. It's going to be hell.
And this, you know, the Patriot Minuteman missile system that, you know, George W. Bush
originally wanted to. Oh, he also wanted to implement a lot of stuff in Europe as well.
Well, we have these things where it's, you know, these two missiles that, you know, if a nuke enters, like, is being launched at us, the first one will, you know, get launched and slam into it, and, you know, the second one will if it misses. And so we will be able to protect ourselves from some incoming missiles, but if this is a full-scale thing, you know, we can't, you know, just hide behind this sense of, you know, this false sense of security.
Not to mention the U.S. has originally, I believe under Bush, tried to extend, like, the shield that we're going to call with these missiles that would protect from this kind of stuff into Europe. So it would consist of a radar, you know, to detect all this stuff, and then the actual site that would try to intercept this stuff. But the entire plan was scrapped. Maybe scrapped isn't the correct term, but like completely downsized and scaled back by Barack Obama in response to Russian disapproval of the idea. I mean,
and
since
why do you think they disapproved? I mean,
we're disapproving right now in the Crimea, and I don't see fucking Putin going like, "Oh, Mr. Barack Obama, we are sorry. Here, have all Crimea back." I mean, Putin isn't Obama.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And I think the reason that Russia, you know, denied us, you know, providing protection is, you know, they
have their own interests.
Yeah, and, you know, some of these interests are, you know, striking certain people off the map. So
now, do you really think China's gonna, if it was to go full scale, do you think China would step in? Because China's sort of our allies. I mean, they may be communists, but
well, China also is, you know, responsible for, you know, a lot of our military stuff. You know, they make our grenades. They make, you know, our M4s. You know, they make a lot of our stuff. And, you know, we do have trade trade stuff with them, and I could see it going either way. But I'm seeing them leaning more towards helping Russia than with us, because if our trade gets shut down with China, we're gonna have a problem on our hands.
Also, if it goes full scale, then China will be making a lot of military equipment, and they could get a lot from that, gain a lot.
At this point, I don't think we have to worry about who's going to be doing what. All we have to know is that shit will hit the fan, and we want to avoid that.
Do you think you can go?
Yeah.
Is there a political way to stop it, or does it have to go?
You mean the sanctions that have been going on? That have been kind of half-assed on some countries and maybe done by others?
We also have, Japan and South Korea on our side. And, that could be, a turning point. If South Korea falls, or if, something happens with South Korea, we're involved. And China already said, if, we try to do anything involving North Korea, they will turn on us and they will, strike. Because, they have a lot of stuff going on with North Korea. So China has already stated that, they will not tolerate anything, involving us and North Korea.
Yeah.
Ballistic, I have a question for you. Do you know where a lot of Russian revenue comes from? Let's say for the government, the economy, all that in general?
Yeah. Military equipment?
Military equipment that they spend money that they spend money on is revenue
I
for?
don't know. I was just
Jacob, you want to answer that question?
Well, wait, can you repeat the question?
Like, where does Russia get a lot of its revenue, like for their budget, in the economy in general? Where do they make their money?
I'm guessing foreign stuff, so like China.
Besides vodka, which obviously truly isn't Russian.
Yeah, that's not even their main export anymore. No, they haven't been making the AK in a while, and it was the Chinese that made the AK.
Yeah, I tried to prove that to a lot of people, but they wouldn't believe me.
It's Chinese made the AK-47. They manufactured it.
Because people get confused who invented it and who manufactures it.
Well, the Russians used it, but they were outsourcing, the labor to China, and
Originally?
I believe so. I'd have to double check that.
I don't know about originally. I mean, eventually, yeah.
Like the Chinese were the ones manufacturing them. Hold on, I'm looking for some.
I don't know about originally. But the answer I was kind of going for was, I'll even read it off of Wikipedia.
The most reliable source of information, Wikipedia.
I mean, it's just reaffirming this. Like, I just wanted to phrase.
Yeah, it's a general idea.
Russia has an abundance of natural resources, including timber, precious metals, but particularly
diamond,
fossil fuels, which is basically oil and natural gas. Yeah. That's where they make their money.
They also just, within the past, year and a half, they said, hey, guess what? We have a giant supply of diamonds now. Because apparently, when that meteor hit, X amount of years ago, it uncovered all these diamonds. And they kept
through money?
They sort of kept that under wraps until quite recently.
But I mean, like, in terms of economy, diamonds aren't going to fuel your economy. I mean, they're definitely something that's...
Well, I don't know, dude. Africa is, like, running on diamonds.
Oh, man, all that corruption.
Yeah. Well, I can see that. Oil and metal.
But, yeah, what I wanted to say is that in today's day and age, oil, gas, that's what fuels everything that we do. And there are so many pipelines right now. I don't know if you guys know, that run into Europe, both Eastern Europe and Western Europe. They added the Nord Stream, and I think there's plans for one, like an additional one through the Black Sea, in addition through the ones that run through Ukraine and Belarus. But basically, if you think of the EU, think of it in Russia's hand, and Russia controls all that gas that's going in there. And they've done it in the past where they just cut off gas supplies during, let's say, a heavy winter, and people die from that. Russia has EU in its hand. That's why a lot of countries.
Yeah, we
have our own.
We're not
we have
suffer from it.
That's why a lot of Europe wants to diversify from American exports. There's been a lot of stuff going on with that. From the Middle East, there's ideas of new pipelines, transportation, all that kind of stuff. But basically, Russia has Europe in its hand right now, and there's been a lot of, let's say, like Germany, they haven't really been able to put a good foot forward because of the whole reliance issue. And it comes down to a question of who's more dependent on who. Is the EU more dependent on Russia for the gas, or is Russia, the Russian economy, more dependent on all the money it's getting from the EU?
Basically control the EU.
Well, it already has a significant influence because of that. And Europe it's not like let's say one giant state where it can kind of use its bargaining power against Russia. I don't know if you know a little bit about economics, but it actually acts as individual countries bargaining against this huge monopolistic, basically almost a monopoly in terms of gas. And that's not going to benefit the EU as acting as individuals, opposed to like using their collective bargaining power, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and just like a quick, like going back to the whole AK thing, I find it kind of funny that, you know, a lot of these, you know, communist countries and, you know, countries that we've had issues with, Russian weapons have been involved. You know, Vietnam, North Korea, China, and, you know, the Middle East. You know, these guys are, you know, they're making IEDs out of, like, Russian explosives, and, you know, they have AKs.
Left everything behind.
Yeah, but I would have said that Russia was in there, so.
And, you know, Russia isn't doing so well themselves, you know. They have a lot of problems going on.
If they cut off all the gas, if they cut off all their resources, where are they going to get their money from? What?
Give me what perspective.
No, I'm saying if, like you were saying, that they can cut it off at any time. Yeah, where would
Russia?
Also, their economy would come to a standstill because they're not getting any money from it.
Right, and that leads me into part two, where if you think about it, Russia is making a lot of money off of this, right? Gas rising in price, it's, you know, expensive. They're making a lot of money, especially since they're almost a monopoly. Where is this money going to? Do you think it's being reinvested into infrastructure, new businesses, like into Russia itself? Or is it being invested into, I don't know, maybe the army?
So it's...
And once that money goes away, what are you left with? Are you left with a strong economy, with good infrastructure that has other businesses?
That way we could, I don't know, if we step in.
So they're only left with the army. And what are they trying to do with that army right now? They're trying to make something of it, trying to get the Crimea, trying to increase their interest, strategic areas, resources. I mean, that army, I mean, that's where it's going into. And you think like countries would reinvest that into maybe their future well-being opposed to...
Well, I think like the where the money's going is, you know, also military. So it's going to military, nuclear weapons, and probably greasing a lot of palms.
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Do you know where a lot of millionaires and stuff came from after the collapse of the Soviet Union?
Soviet Union.
Yeah. What I meant was when the country, the communism started breaking down and stuff, and a lot of industries and stuff were privatized, meaning that people, I think, wealthy individuals who had some money who purchased initially these state factories or businesses and all that made a lot of money. And that's where a lot of, I believe that's where a lot of the world's millionaires are. If you think about like extravagant spending and stuff, like expensive cars, a lot of the buyers are in Russia.
Now, do you think that if it goes full scale, we could cut off exports and imports with Russia, and they would come to a standstill? Like,
You mean the sanctions that have been implemented,
yeah,
but they're kind of half-assed.
Well,
I mean,
we
if you successfully, yeah, go
we
on.
did the same thing with Cuba 50 years ago, and
We know how
that
close we were.
it didn't really affect America.
but
I
it's
mean,
not
the
gonna
only
affect
thing that
us, it's gonna affect them.
Americans.
So, is
Oh,
that, so
America's
do you think that would be
Exactly,
realistic,
like-
right?
Well, I don't know.
I
We're
mean-
not really, importing that much from Russia. I mean, we're importing,
No.
possibly,
No.
some
Europe's more
machinery
dependent.
parts and stuff, but, this is America,
Yeah,
pretty
we're
self-reliant.
self-reliant on gas. We're a huge exporter due to fracking. Europe is the one that's more affected, and I would assume China. And that's why, in order to have like a successful sanction with, let's see, Western Europe, China, and the rest of the world, then yeah, Russia would be cut off from a lot of its revenue. Sure, it has that gas. What is it gonna
Yeah.
like? Where's it gonna get its money? Where all those imports and stuff that it gets, it would be fucked over.
Well, we don't need Russian gas, If we want gas, all we have to do is drive to Taco Bell,
Yeah, but we're us.
We're reliant.
Other countries who are reliant aren't us.
Yeah. Well, that is all the time we have. Thank you guys for watching Ought to Be Armed, episode 3. And thank you, Jacob, for coming on.
No problem.
Yeah, it's great having you here.
So
Thank you.
if you want
It's great
to see
being on.
these guys' channel, links will be in the description. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe to these guys. And thanks for watching.